So Finance Minister Lawrence Wong has solidified his spot to take over Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Do you think he's the right man for the right job, or he's the wrong man for the right job?
I can't say he's the wrong man. He has been in the arena, he has been in politics, he has been in all those ministerial level leadership. But can he lead a country like how we would want a captain to lead a ship, go through wars or go through storms together and return safely? So yes, he has shown his abilities. He's up there, respected. He has led the committee well to be so-called out of the crisis for COVID. But did we leave the crisis unscathed? Are we happy with the overall result? So I think, in due respect to the prospective Prime Minister, he still need to be tried and tested in so many fields yet. That's what I think.
It's for my generation, this is the first transfer of power, and it's not a clear transfer, and there was a lot of bumps. Heng Swee Keat was supposed to be the next PM in waiting, and then all hell broke loose. So this really gave me a chance to see that whole selection process, because it was so drawn out. They were tested, retested, exposed to different scenarios, and that really gave me that opportunity to look at the three candidates. I think Ong Yi Kang, Lawrence Wong, and Chun Sing, and it really gave Singapore and Singaporeans a chance to see the caliber. But I think, although you say we survived it, I would also the COVID, but I would also say the virus killed itself. But what did the ministerial task force do? So that we were not scarred, or whether we were not affected. So there was a lot of concerns. I mean, I don't think they did well. They survived the crisis, but I think there's still a lot of question marks about whether Lawrence Wong can lead. He hasn't had a chance, So we always respect the position, and now the ball is in his court to convince us as Singaporeans that he can lead us, which I think is very, very important. He do it early, and he needs to have a plan. Everyone from his team to Singaporeans to businesses are looking to him. What is his plan for Singapore? It's not going to be the East Coast plan. It cannot be the East Coast plan. It has to be a Singapore plan, because the world is very different.
True.
The challenges we face. So we were just talking earlier on where the previous prime ministers had mentors to guide them, the forefathers, the visionaries. This 4G leadership didn't have or doesn't have any visionaries to help them. They have to come up with their own visions, and I'm not sure whether they have.
We know that the independent, the so-called ministers from the day of our independence, they work very hard. So they set up. There were mistakes. There were things which are all very new. Then they became templates, right? So this is how you do it. But is the current 4G leader gonna based on what we're gonna have in prospect based on the current templates?
We
Can they
cannot
do
have
that?
we cannot have it based on the current template, because during then it was bread and butter issues. So now Singapore has come way ahead of that. We are a first world country. We have things like technology. The population is a group of generation that has never suffered the way the boomers have. So if you turn back and use the old template as the way to lead the people, I think that's a big mistake, a really big mistake, because we have moved on. So what this future leadership has to do is to look for their own template. to be the visionaries of this current time. But if you decide that, why fix something that's not broke? Yes, it's not broken, but it's out of date. It's like you're trying to use beta tape again to record what you want to record instead of using iOS. So no, there's no way you can look back and say, oh, why not use the template of Go King Sui? It worked. It's not going to work this time.
The world is different in terms
Yes.
of it's a global world. You know, we are not fighting for expertise, manpower in Singapore. You know, whoever works in New Zealand can easily do the same job via Zoom or online. So it's a global world that we live in now. But again, it's the old method of foreign investment, getting foreign talent to come in. It doesn't work anymore. It cannot work anymore. But I don't see anything different besides GST increasing.
Yeah. Does that make our lives any better looking forward with the new leadership? Now, let's go back to basic. Right now, when I speak or when I mention Nelson Mandela, when I mention Lee Kuan Yew, when I mention Emperor Shi Huangti, if I were to mention Mahathir or some leaders, what are the basic things do you look out for? Is how they speak, is how they influence, is how they move people. I'm looking forward to see our prospective Prime Minister to speak to the people and see how we get moved by it. You must be able to move and be that influence, be that influential person that we look forward to see.
So in other words, you are saying people like Nelson Mandela, Lee Kuan Yew, even Mahathir, they are charismatic.
They speak well, yes.
You don't have to speak well to be charismatic. So as long as you are charismatic, you have the charisma to gather the people, to have the people respect you, then yes, in a way, that's a characteristic of a leader.
So when you speak, I will listen. Now that's the base of it. Right?
I think what was missing in our leadership was leading from the front. I mean, Lee Hsien Loong was our Prime Minister, but I didn't see him as often as the other Prime Ministers. Leading, explaining policy. Maybe that's his style. He delegated it down to his deputies, to the ministries. But I think in addition to being charismatic, you need to be seen leading. And I hope, and that's what I'm looking for from a Prime Minister that stands up, explains the policies, so that we can relate to him as the leader, as the in the past, whenever National Day rally, my father would say, "Hey, your father is speaking. Go and listen." I mean, that's the respect and belief we have in the leaders then, and I hope the 4G leadership can do that.
I pray so too, and I would like to see more of them coming to us as Singaporeans instead of we going to them when we need help, or during the Meet the People session, or during election time. Then you see all these leaders going down to meet the group. I need to see you often. It's not like I have problem, I come and see you. You need to make time to be with the people. I do not know how they are going to formulate it, but to be with the people is so important. Leaders then, when they become successful, is because they move the people to move together with them. Instead of receiving instructions, say, "Oh, move here, yeah, let's move." That's it. We want to go, and if I were to put this in a different platform, right? We want to go to the war with you, bring us with you, fight this together. But now it's more like, no, don't do this, don't do this. We will plan for you, and you just follow instructions. We are not there.
So you're saying that the Singapore 2.0 has to be totally different.
It has to be,
because the younger generation, we view things differently.
True, but we still need a good leader to move the people or to move the herd.
I think the first thing that needs to be addressed is the division the haves and the haves not. We have seen from this COVID that there is a line. There is two Singaporeans, have access, have money, and those who are really suffering. And then you have the racial issues. There is so many issues that Singapore and Singaporeans are facing, in addition to the economy and the global influence. He has to address that, because you can't sweep it under carpet and give it to the next leader, because these are real issues that if it's not solved, you will have your next riots. You see a lot of crazy things happening now.
True. But Kevin, if I don't live your life, I wouldn't understand it. You need to understand that Singapore is not made up only for the rich or the invested rich people. There are other people who make the country matter.
I would question that. We always say that our leaders should be on the ground, but our forefathers, they knew the ground.
They were the ground.
They knew the ground, but they also knew where and what they wanted Singapore to go to, and they were very driven, stubbornly. Fortunate for us, this is where we want to go, and I think that's the core. The strength in the leader that I've not seen in any of our current leadership. Maybe we don't interact as much, but I don't recall seeing a leader saying, I stake my position, or this is what we should do, and really explain it.
If LKY, when LKY earned Singapore, he go like, we need to make Singapore an industrialized place, technology, blah blah blah. You move forward, financial center. But that's the first 50 years of it. What's the next 50 years? Can you tell us in 50 years' time, what's your vision? Then I can move my family and my children, say, yeah, this is where we're going to be. Can we meet? Can we move towards that direction? So we all move towards the same direction.
I do not know where Singapore is headed in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
I can't tell.
I don't know. No plan has been announced. Or even if they were, I recall there was a remaking Singapore plan. But it's all the same. Foreign investment, companies coming in. I'm very worried. But
Because if you look at wanting foreign investments, I think as an investor from another country, I would look to somewhere like Vietnam, because manpower is cheap. I would look to Myanmar if Myanmar is not in crisis, because once again, manpower is cheap. You have resources like oil and minerals. So then why would I want to, say, invest in a country that is already first world? Yeah, I might want the expertise in terms of technology. I might want the expertise in terms of finance. But again, manpower is so expensive here. So it's that old plan that LKY has that everybody is so scared to break.
Yep. So that's the challenge. But that's what we can hope for. But I think we should also expect it. And I think it's interesting that social media feedback, the government, they do listen, and I think the clearest feedback will be the next election. You can be the Prime Minister in waiting, but if you don't have an MP position, you're not in government.
Yeah, but election is just the next 4 years. But if you're going to be a leader,
2 years.
You got to tell me.
No, what I say is that the people can also have a say. We believe that we have no say. The PAP will choose who the leader is, and we have to accept it. But I'm saying no. We can respond and say, hey, Prime Minister or government, this is what we want.
Yeah, as long as they don't put all the popular figures in one constituency.
No, it doesn't matter.
It does.
No. What I'm trying to say is, we have seen how at the last election, Singaporeans rallied against nominees that they didn't feel suited to be in government. And I think this is a time where we should have a say. You know, I mean,
Oh, you're talking about
Ivan Lim.
Ivan Lim,
Yeah,
where the people just went
Correct.
on social media and made
Yep.
sure that he doesn't run at all.
Yep. So I mean, this is where if the government or leaders don't draft up. Okay, now I'm throwing it back to both of you guys, saying that no, the government must have a plan and stuff like that. Singaporeans can also say no. We want A, B, C in this order, in this growth rate, and we want you to deliver this. And of course, we have our own ground discussion, and then it's whether the government wants to take it. And if they don't want to listen, we as voters would have a choice. I mean, that's how I see it. You know, even you have the best people in one GRC, it can all get knocked out. You know, Heng you get East Coast, they didn't win by a large margin. You know, so
No, even
yeah.
look at the not the last election, but several elections ago, you have the popular people in Aljunied,
Mm.
George Yeo. You have
What's that?
Zainul.
Ong Yi Kang was a young politician then. You have Zainal Abidin Rashid. Those two, George and Zainal, were really, really popular, and yet they're out.
Yeah, so I think Singaporeans must know. I'm not trying to stir, but if you're really concerned about your welfare or livelihood, you have to say something. You know, and I think the young Singaporeans are not afraid to voice. We are not being opposition. We are not being difficult. We're just saying, hey, we are concerned about our livelihood. We, based on our educated awareness, feel that the country should be heading in this direction. Then we work together.
If I were to be the prospective leader or leaders to be, if I want to get elected, I need to start impressing now. Do things that's sensible, make sense, and yet you can please almost everybody on the ground. I know you cannot please anyone, right? But then again, you need to have that collective plan where you do something and everybody, oh yeah, they should be the one for us.
It's
I've
like,
yet to feel it, even post-COVID.
I think we should get Lawrence Wong on this show and like a discussion, like a electoral debate, and say, hey, Prime Minister in waiting, what are your plans? You know, don't tell me the issues at hand. I want to know what are the solutions that you believe, from your experience, you are going to implement to save us. I literally mean we are in dire straits.
I think post announcement, he should be busier than anyone else in Singapore to plan. We should hear it soon
That's why we should invite him.
if he wants to come.
Yeah. We will send the invite. I mean, I think the key thing is just to have a simple discussion. We are 3 different generations. We have different experiences, different upbringings. We have different concerns. You know, we are at different stages of our lives. And I think that's where the leaders have to be very aware. You know, I mean, we all have been saying the ivory towers, they are parachuted in. But I think it's time we also look at what Singaporeans need and what the academics, the economists, the social welfare specialists feel Singaporeans need.
I think we should have a campaign or just fun competition. What Singapore should be and would be in 50 years' time, right? Just one major point where we should all move towards that direction.
I think that can be our big read.
It's like
The
go
next month.
towards the light.
Yeah, I'll wish for 2050, for example. Because whatever is decided now will determine what 2050 will look like.
Singapore wanted to be the financial center, the financial hub. We wanted to be the center for research and development, which we are. We wanted to be the #1 university and produce good students. We want to have schools of world standard. We want to have public housing that is exemplary. So we have done all that, but what's
Thanks to
what's
Mr. Lee Kuan Yew.
Yes, but what's next?
But then, have we achieved all that you just said? I mean,
Yes, I think
Most
the
of it.
the hardware is there. We have achieved all the hardware, the things that he promised. But what about the software? You know, we have built the computer, but do we have enough software to make that computer run?
I
That
think,
I wanna know.
I mean, key things was a lot of investment was in research. You know, the National Research Fund or Foundation,
NRF, yes.
What have we produced? You know, we are a biomedical hub. What have we produced? I don't know. So I'm just asking. So I mean, there's a lot of money, a lot of investment. We are building terminal 4, 5,
Five.
5.
5.
But is it worth building given that air travel is so different now? Planes can bypass Singapore. You know, we are no longer the hub. With the green economy, what is going to happen to our oil refinery pillar? You know, so there's so many questions, but I've not heard any answers. Have you guys heard any answers to these
No.
issues?
Nothing.
You know, because
It's
I'm
not broken, so why fix it? That's like what Judy
I'm
has
an
mentioned.
ordinary Singaporean. I wonder, you see all this, but we don't hear it in the mainstream media. No one talks about it. No one highlights it, which I think it's important because we cannot be surrounded by yes men. We need to be
True.
surrounded by people who say, hey, there's this problem here. I went down here. I mean, it always bugs me when I go to a HDB estate and I walk and I still see tiles popping up on the ground. I mean, HDB has been in the business for how many years? Haven't we settled on the right raw materials, the right way to construct that tiles don't pop up brand new after a year? You know, so my concern is are we doing too much? That our leaders are trying to cover so many things that the quality and attention is not there, or we don't have the right people, we don't have the right checks and balance. I was in the army, then we all in the army, and there was a question asked, and we all will say, yeah, it's a waste of time. And the issue was checklists, forms, and whenever we used to do anything, we must fill out a form, checklist and all. So we always say it's a redundant process. But the commanding officer told us, no, it is because there's so many different individuals that we cannot trust, or we cannot actually tell everyone. This checklist and guide make sure that everything is done according to what is supposed to be done. And that gives whoever receives the final checklist the assurance that, hey, yeah, we've done
It's
it. So,
been done.
yeah, do we have the checklist?
Well, for a start, we do not have that checklist starting from the parliament.
About which one?
We don't have enough opposition.
Oh,
enough
okay.
question.
Oh, checks and balance.
Check and balance. So we do not have enough of it. Until that happens, then a lot of secrets, a lot of things which is not made known, will surface out. So Singaporeans need to decide what would be best for the man in front, right? We never rejected any leaders that was presented to us, but we also would want a lot of check and balances to make sure that he is not unguided or he's not off track. That's what we wanted, because a lot of things we have no answer for it. We have been asking, but the replies that we get are a little bit more ambiguous than not.
I think this generation, we are prepared to reject the leaders put forward.
I'm worried.
No, by virtue of not for the sake of rejecting, but hey, if you don't earn the respect, I mean, we all respect you are the Prime Minister or you are the MP, you are the Minister. But if you don't deliver, you are accountable. Someone has to be accountable.
One teacher in school says, respect must be earned. But if you lose that respect, it's very hard to get it back.
Yep.
So you cannot assume that, because I am your elder, you will automatically respect me. Yes, we are taught to respect our elders, to respect people in power. But seriously, when once that respect is lost, I don't think,
Yep.
you know, the younger generation will be that acceptable anymore.
I think for Singapore, for us to accept leaders the way they are, because we're not fighters. We just okay lah, bo pian lah. We whoever you put in front, that's the person I shall respect. Unlike people from other parts of country, ASEAN especially, it's like I don't want you, I do not want you. I think somebody else would be in that place. I will make sure that the one who's going to lead me will be the person that I want to lead me. So we ourselves got to be blamed for this, for not making a strong enough decision to pick our leaders. Or is it because we are too afraid? There's too much installation of fear, maybe, or we are so afraid that if I offend the government, then what will happen to my life? But then again, you're picking a leader, you're not picking up a fight. We should be a little bit more brave. We should make that a wiser decision, and we should decide who should be our leader. I mean, we can't choose our family, but we can choose who shall be the head of the community or the head of the village, right?
So that's why we must start now. I mean, we live in a world where everything is recorded, either on YouTube, the written word. You can't hide. Wherever your what you said, your deeds is all recorded. And I don't think we don't have a choice. I mean, you said just now that we only have a few opposition members, but I don't think so. Every Singaporean, I believe, should be the check and balance. We have seen how the Trace Together, where Vivian wasn't aware of how it's fully used, and the netizens went wow, and I think that is a very strong indicator that Singaporeans will speak up when they notice something is wrong, and the government had to react, because if you don't react, it's an issue also. So I think Singaporeans now, we should collectively not be afraid. We cannot say that, we don't have opposition in parliament. We have the whole country. And I always ask and tell my friends, hey, they are civil servants, they are supposed to be serving us, not we serving them, because we elected them to do a job, and we must hold whoever is elected in any position, even your business owner, your wherever you are. I'm not saying just government. They are accountable because they have to fulfill the job that they were elected or selected or paid to do.
So I think Singaporeans should have more faith in themselves to decide that if this is the Prime Minister that you're going to have, you need to guide or tell the Prime Minister, this is how it should be done, the way we see it deemed right for us. Yes, you have the big vision, but this is how you reach me. We Singaporeans must tell them on how to get to us, which we are all afraid to tell. We need to be brave. We need to tell them. We don't pick fights, but guide, because that's the one that you choose. But did we choose our prospective Prime Minister?
No,
Okay,
but we can.
that was the question.
Yeah, and I say we can at the next election. And I think if you look at the world stage, we have different leaders coming on board. You have the old leaders that's in the Philippines, in the US, in some ASEAN countries. Then you have the younger leaders coming up,
Like in New Zealand.
New Zealand, you have even in Sweden, in Europe, younger leaders coming up, and their vision, their approach, the speed of making decisions, the rationale of making decisions are so different.
Take Arden, for example. After that attack in the mosque, immediately she says, the gun control, it's like, no more guns. Whoever has guns have to give up their guns. And she just changed the law, just like that. Now tell me which government would actually do that? No one.
Unheard.
Yes. And it's amazing how it's like she's a woman making fast decisions for her children. That's all I can say.
So that's why I also have hope for the younger leaders, that they would have that iron in them, that balls, the guts to make a decision, even though not popular, but for the majority of the country.
We wanted a good change. we wanted it, but we were so afraid to say it, and whatever that all those grouses that we have is because it's our mistake for not making that firm decision then. So we have to live with whatever we have to live with now.
At the last
So-
election.
So if you want good leadership, you need to say it, you need to guide it, you need to make sure that they're all within tracks that you want. And I think it boils down to the people. A leader with good people will go a long way.
So are you saying, and I think there's something quite interesting, that the narrative of the next election should change, and Singaporeans should also dictate how we evaluate. So
True.
last time was the electoral department will say, okay, these are the people, these boundaries, and then I'm not too sure who decides the debates. Is it MediaCorp or
No.
it's also the electoral? So I think we can have our own debates, and I think the next election will be very exciting, because there is a lot, and there should be many platforms out there talking, debating, questioning, recommending, and I'm quite excited that the next election, I mean, there's so much that will happen.
I'm also hoping, but I think it might not happen too soon, or it will not happen again. It will be one-on-one fight on every single corner of Singapore, not a group fight. Doesn't make sense for a group fight. Then you will see true colors. Then you will see true fights. You will see true leaders coming out because they are fighting on their own. The weak one will fall. As a group, we are always standing behind each other.
Riding on someone's
It's like,
coattails.
who am I fighting with? Who is this fella? He
So,
won.
and we know that the PAP doesn't have all the best candidates. I mean, we have seen how some of the opposition candidates have performed. So I think, like what you said, we have to make the right choice. But I will also add that whatever the choice is made, we as Singaporeans can still do the policing.
Yeah, you need to brace the storm. You need to be brave. You need to trust yourself a lot more better. There will always be fear if you have a good leader or a bad leader. You need to believe in yourself.
Yeah, and I think, and I must add before we end off, is that whatever discourse, whatever discussion, it has to be respectful, factual. We are not going to go out there, slander, harass, because that's no way productive. And we just need to be mature. As like you see, we are a first world country. We have to be mature. So
not sounding like an ACS boy, I guess the best is yet to be. Thank you very much.